Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday or Wednesday if you're watching this on Wednesday. So, going through last week's homework, on homework one, I noticed that a lot of people had some trouble with graphing some of the points. And I want to make sure we address that because this week, when you start graphing the polar equations, it's really important you know how to graph those points because if you don't, then you're going to struggle to figure out where the pieces are that you need to reflect over the lines of symmetry and all that jazz. So, let's switch into this. Okay, so I put a polar graph here. I think it might be easier if I actually have one here instead of just trying to freehand it. So I found one on the internet to kind of help a little bit. You can do the same thing on graph paper. If you took graph paper and then counted like up your boxes and then made circles around one box and then around the two boxes and the three boxes, it looks nicer and it comes out pretty neat and nice so that you can actually work on this a little bit better. Okay, so let's talk about the first one, right? The first one, we'll talk about this first. Remember, our coordinates are r theta, where r is the radius, theta is the direction. I think what people are getting confused on is the fact that you can also have a negative r or a negative theta, right? So let's just start with positive. Let's make them both positive first and look what happens. So if I have positive 2, and then let's say our theta is 7 pi over 6, right? So what that tells me is out here I'm going to go over 2 units to this spot right here, and then I'm going to rotate around this circle 7 pi over 6 units, which comes to be right here. So this is, oh, sorry, my email logged out. So this is our point here. I rotate this way, and I reach this point. So this would be the coordinate to 7 pi over 6 on the polar axis, or sorry, the polar coordinate plane. So let me erase the extra work there because we don't need any of the extra lines, right? We can get rid of this, get rid of my little arrow there, get rid of that dot. And I mean, we could add on this piece right here. We could say, okay, well, here's my little ray that goes that direction, right? Because that's what we did. Okay, and that would be the point to 7 pi over 6. So what about if I want to graph? Let's make one thing negative. All right, let's change this to -2. And then graph it with 7 pi over 6. I'm going to keep those same numbers going. Well, the problem is now you're going to come over here and you're going to start here, 1, 2, and you're going to start here. And what I'm seeing a lot of people do is they're like, okay, well, the second thing is 7 pi over 6. They're just going to go here and put 7 pi over 6 in the same spot. Well, then what's the point? Like, those aren't the same coordinates. Remember, in the other part of the homework, we said that if -2, if this switches from a +2 to a -2, then you have to add pi onto the theta, right? So what it's saying is from this point, move 7 pi over 6 units. If you just go to here, where this pink dot already is, you just moved 1 pi over 6 units. You have to go all the way around to, here's 1 pi over 6, 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6, 4 pi over 6, 6 pi over 6, and 7 pi over 6. So it's going to put us actually right over here. We wanted to keep it at 2, right? 1, 2. There we go. So we're going to actually end up over here because we rotated all the way around here 7 pi over 6 units. So I end up at pi over 6, right? So let me put my little ray that goes through there. It goes the exact opposite way the other one. And again, just to mathematically show a little bit what we're doing here, right? We said that if we change this to a negative, then we have to take 7 pi over 6. 7 pi over 6. And let me clarify that better. If we want it to be in the same spot, right? If we wanted this to be in the same spot, we would change it to a negative, and then we would subtract pi or add pi to this. So we could subtract pi, and if you took 1 pi away from 7 pi over 6, you'd end up with 1 pi over 6, right? Taking a pi away from 7 pi over 6, you take away 6 on top. You know, pi over 6. That would get us the same spot because from here we move 1 pi over 6 units and then we're in the same spot. That's not what happened here, though. You want to make sure that you're being mindful that when you start plotting those points, right, when you start graphing the movement, you have to move the same number of units that you would have moved from 0, even if you're already starting at pi. So let's take that and go and try, well, what if I make this part negative? What if I say it's +2 and -7 pi over 6? I saw a few less mistakes on this one, but I still saw mistakes. So you're still going to go out here, and now we're back at the +2 for our radius, so we're going to start on the +2. But instead of going counterclockwise, we're going the negative direction now. Like I said, though, the problem I saw was some people would come here and they would stop at 7 pi over 6. That is not what's happening. When you move 7 pi over 6 units, you're moving one entire pi and then going a sixth past it. So I'm going to come here, rotate all the way here to get to 1 pi. So that's 6 pi over 6. And then go a little bit more to get to 7 pi over 6. So I would have this right here as my point. I'll erase that. Oh no, what did I just do? I got out of control there. There. Okay, so clearing that off, I'll put that line back on there. We should have been right there. Okay, so one last thing then. The last point that we could think about how to graph would be both of them are negative. -2, -7 pi over 6. Hopefully now at this point, if you understand this and this shouldn't be too hard, right? You're going to move over -2. And if you're moving negative theta, that means we're moving in the clockwise direction. So we're going to go from here around. We're going to go 1 pi and then a pi over 6 more. So that's going to put us over at this spot. That one's a little bit hard to see because it kind of blends in. So I think the important thing that you need to make sure that you know that if you're struggling with this, if I sent you back some feedback and said, hey, check this again, important things. R starts on the right side of the polar axis, where negative r is going to start on the left side of the polar axis. This means that if you start at negative r, that means that your theta is not going to be just the exact same thing, right? If you start at r, then theta is going to be whatever theta is. But if you start at negative r, then theta is not going to be the same thing. Like just because you start at -2, you go to 7 pi over 6, that doesn't mean that theta is going to be on 7 pi over 6. It means that it's 7 pi over 6 away from the starting point, which ends up putting it at pi over 6 in this case. And then the other thing to remember is that theta makes our graphs rotate in a counterclockwise fashion, whereas negative theta is going to make everything rotate in a clockwise fashion. So if you just remember those 4 things, you guys are going to be okay and fine to solve these problems. All right, that should be it. I'll talk to you later. Bye.